Hi friends, we have a new retelling of the story, so before you start watching, please like and subscribe to me, and let's go. At the ends of the earth is a kingdom where no man has ever been allowed to enter. It is the home of the beasts that once dominated and devoured mankind, and over them reigned a ferocious king. In a dark, ominous setting, a young girl stands before a massive gate separating the world of beasts and humans. She is shackled and left on the other side, and those who brought her quickly flee. As she walks forward to meet her supposed end, two beastmen approach and escort her to the king of the kingdom. Upon arrival, the girl finds herself to be the 99th victim. When she raises her head, however, Anubis, the king's secretary, comments on how skinny she is compared to the previous victims, and offers to trade her for someone more hardy. The girl remarks that it is without bands and that she has enough to eat, showing disrespect for her own life. She even shows her tongue to the Anubis, demonstrating her seemingly carefree attitude. The king is intrigued by the girl's boldness and urges Anubis to leave them alone, and even growls furiously when Anubis dares to speak out of turn. After the Anubis leaves, the girl continues to show her courage by noticing how fiery the king is. Cyclops, the two chain balls, watching over her, coaxing her to apologize, warning her of the king's terrible reputation. But the girl only carelessly praises their cuteness. The king approaches the girl, skeptical of her fearless demeanor, as all previous victims have trembled in terror before him. He suggests that she beg for her life if she wants a quick death. However, the girl remains unperturbed and notices the softness of the king's paw pads. The king becomes angry, but the girl explains that she has nothing to lose. Even if she manages to escape, she has no home or family to return to, and she is prepared to be eaten. After hearing this, the king wants to know her name. It is Salifi. She also asks him about the name, but he simply answers that he doesn't have one, leaving Salifi confused. The sacrificial ritual will take place the next night of revelation, when the miasmas have dissipated, and he wants to see how long her bravado will last. Until then, he will keep her close to him. When the girls are given complete freedom to explore the palace, the lords of the kingdom are angry about the king's intolerable whims. They recall that the quiet king was also difficult to deal with. During the Great War 100 years ago, the late king made peace with the people himself. Rebels who refuse to do his bidding still torment their lands. Under the terms of the truce, a woman must be sacrificed to the beasts to be eaten by the king of the beasts, symbolizing that the humans are inferior to them. The lords advise Anubis to warn the king to stop playing with the girl, as it might make the king vulnerable to the opposition. Meanwhile, His Majesty picks up with Lethe and scolds her for leaving his chambers. He also reprimands the Cyclops for not looking out for her. But Lethe defends them, noting that it was her idea. The king's chambers seem bleak and empty. There are no activities in them to keep Salifi occupied. She thinks about how the addition of flowers might liven the place up. However, the king continues to insist on leaving everything as it is, claiming that he already has everything he needs. Moreover, he says that flowers cannot grow in the earthly miasmas that only go into the night of revelation. He remarks that if she wants to live up to the ritual, she should not leave the rest, for she will be eaten immediately. Despite his warning, Suri takes his words as a concern for her well-being. The king forcefully grabs Salifi and pushes her onto the bed, scolding her for her impertinence. He reminds her that he could easily kill her at any moment, without waiting for the ritual. He asks her, "Are you still not afraid of me?" Despite his threatening demeanor, Salifi is not afraid. She recalls a time when she learned that her name means sacrificed in an ancient language in old books. On a stormy night, she tried to wake her sister, but learned that her parents had accepted her as a sacrifice instead of the real daughter. Suri overheard their conversation in the kitchen, but what frightened her most was their cold stares. The king's eyes are soft in comparison, and his threat is nothing to her. She wonders if he makes himself angry. Salifi is a girl to be pitied. They walk across the land, where Cyclops explains that the fiercest battles of the last great war took place in this fortress. Even now, 100 years after the war, the scars are still deep, so the king often visits the place to make an inspection. During the inspection, Salifi notices something unusual and rushes to investigate. Anubis is not happy that the king has allowed her to act on her own, but he is powerless to oppose His Majesty. As Salifi delves deeper into the ruins, the king approaches her, allowing the Sai and the Klops to rest. He tells her that, unlike the palace, lawlessness reigns here. Being the farthest city from the capital, it is a hotbed of rebellion, and even now its inhabitants are often in conflict with the people, causing unrest. The king believes that his regular inspections instill fear in the inhabitants, and that it is the most effective means of preventing unnecessary bloodshed. Salifi notes that being king is not easy. Meanwhile, Cyclops informs Anubis of the king's and Salifi's activities. Suddenly, Salifi picks up a delightful scent and rushes to a nearby flower garden. Because of the rare miasma in the area, it is the only place where flowers grow. She believes that this is the reason the king brought her here and decides to tear some flowers to take them with her. However, the king cannot understand why Salifi cares for what is destined to wither. At this point, Salifi puts a hat of flowers on the king, stunning him with her gesture. She thinks he looks very charming, but he takes it as an insult. When she continues to tease him, Salifi declares that beautiful things to look at make a person feel better. He grabs Salifi and, after some delay, says that a storm is coming. After the night storm comes a night of revelations. The king announces that Salifi is to be sacrificed, and then lightning strikes, causing her to be terrified. She is not afraid of beasts, though, and the sound of thunder frightens her. Despite her best efforts to remain calm, the sound of thunder reminds Salifi of her adoptive parents. Worried that she will be annoyed, the king covers her with his tail to drown out the noise. She enjoys the feel of her fluffy tail, which amazes the king as he is puzzled by how quickly she goes from fear to amusement. Salifi reassures him that he need not behave cruelly toward her, and eventually falls asleep in his lap. As the flowers wilt and the clouds disperse, a night of revelations ensues. Anubis explains that the ritual is a sacred event, and Salifi happily puts on a beautiful dress resembling a wedding dress. Even the Cyclops admires her appearance. Anubis escorts Salifi down the aisle and informs her that the king does not show himself to the others this night, though he does not know why. Left alone in the dimly lit room, Salifi suddenly discovers that she has been attacked by a monster who intends to take her place and kill the indecisive king. However, a man intervenes in time and prevents the beast from harming Salifi. When the beast lunges to kill the man who saved Salifi, she boldly stands between them. She praises the king, noting that he does all he can to prevent unnecessary violence and sacrifices his wishes for the welfare of his people. The assailant launches another attack, but the man manages to evade it and disarm the beast, who flees in fear. After this encounter, Salifi approaches the wounded man and suggests that he is a king. Although he gestures to the hidden passageway, she is more concerned with his well-being. But he pushes her away, insisting that he is not a king. Salifi is still convinced that he is the one and can prove it easily. The king tells her that he is half man, half beast, and can never truly belong to either world. When the night of the revelation begins, his human form is exposed, and so he hides in the shadows, waiting for it to pass. The king wonders how such a weak man can become a true king. Salifi tears her dress and uses it to dress the king's wounds, telling him that he is not weak. Anubis tells her that he has always performed the ritual alone, and seeing his human form, she is sure that he would let his victim escape and use his blood to fool everyone into thinking that he performed the ritual. Only a strong and kind man could do something like that. Even if he had let her go, she would have nowhere to go. Salifi declares that she wants to be eaten by him so that someone strong, kind might benefit from her sacrifice. The king breaks Salifi's chains and hugs her tightly, repeating her name. As she prepares to die, he tells her that she now belongs to him. The next day, Anubis and all the lords are shocked. They learn that Salifi is still alive, and the king has decided to take her as his bride. The council is furious at the prospect of diluting the king's bloodline with human blood. But the king's word is law, and no one dares to object. The Cyclopes, on the other hand, are thrilled by the news. To simplify things, Salifi comes up with a name for the king Leonhart, which means brave at heart in the ancient language. He likes it, and it becomes his new name. Well, what happens next is up to you. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.